Um, okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. So we'll just move on to the last question then, Beck. So you've recently transitioned, as you briefly mentioned earlier, into the world of freelance editing and writing. So just kind of a few points around that, if you could talk around them. So how has the process gone? What have you found the most challenging? And what advice would you give someone else taking their own steps, their own first steps, I suppose, into a similar career?
Yeah, I again, I suppose I keep saying I'm lucky. I am, but I met Amy on the MA course. Amy runs Scott Editorial, which is an editing firm, and she asked me if I would like to join. And so,
Fantastic, yeah.
yeah, so I am freelance. So Amy's not my employer, but she helps get all my work.
Gives you a platform to operate from. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And she's also great in that she's always there with advice, or I suppose for all of her editors who are on the book, she sort of constantly reminds us to keep educating ourselves, keep reading about what you're doing, because whilst we've done the MA, we certainly don't know everything.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she sort of encourages us to strive for perfection, and I think by nature we're all perfectionists anyway. But yeah, so that's kind of been what I've been doing, which has been great because, as I mentioned, I've got children, so I do it from home, and I can still do the school runs and things.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so that's been really good. In terms of challenges, I suppose every writer, and I suppose maybe editors get this as well, but I certainly suffer a bit from imposter syndrome. Can I do this? Do I know what I'm talking about? And then of course, when I have a word myself, the answer is yes, of course I know what I'm talking about. You know, I've worked hard, I've studied this, I know what I'm doing. And I suppose as well, we don't always get to meet our writers, so that can be quite difficult to sort of know what they really want and what they're tentative about. You can discuss these things on email, but sort of often they present themselves as you edit, and you realize, this person would need a gentle approach, or this person wants me to go much more in depth here. But I mean, that's sorted out fairly quickly. So
yeah, and I can imagine that's an interesting challenge, editing the work having not met the writer before, because of course on the MA it's completely the opposite, isn't it? That in that you meet everyone beforehand, and all right, you might not know them intimately immediately, but then you see their work. So would editing people's work without knowing them beforehand change your perspective on the editing process?
No, I do tend to go in how I deem the piece should be dealt with. But and I'd say that generally works, but there is always that worry. I like to make sure everyone's happy, basically.
Right.
Yeah, so that's all it is, really. I suppose a lot of that song's anxiety on my part. Yeah, no, it does work, and I've never had anyone say that they're unhappy. So
no, well, perfect, good, absolutely. Yeah.
So far, so good.
No, good.
Yeah.
So what advice might you give to someone who, let's say they're in their own full-time job and they're wanting to take that plunge into the editing world or the writing world, and that, I liked that phrase you used earlier on, building their momentum in their writing and their editing. So what advice would you give to someone who wanted to take that plunge? When did you know you were ready?
You never feel ready. So even if you don't feel ready, do it anyway. Scott Editorial are actually looking for an editor at the moment. So if you're wanting to be a freelance editor and you have a master's in creative writing, contact Amy at Scott Editorial, because we're keen. Just because we've got so much work coming in.
Perfect.
It's marvelous. That's what you want. And the pandemic, I felt it either stifled people's creativity or it did the opposite, and a lot of manuscripts have come out of all that time in lockdown and things. So but yeah, I guess other than applying to us to be a freelance editor, I would say even if you don't feel ready, you probably are, and keep reading and researching. Your education is never really finished, which may sound a cliche, but it's very true.
But true nonetheless. Yeah, that sounds all like brilliant advice. Take the plunge even if you don't feel like you're ready, and keep researching, keep learning. Absolutely. And I will put the website link to Scott's editorial on the website page as well, so it's easy for everybody to find.
Marvellous. Thank you, Ross.
Brilliant, Beck. Thank you very much. It's nice to speak to you.
And you, Ross. Thanks so much.
Thank you.